yeah, I don't hate the photo. Conservative id. A loud, friendly argument was preoccupying a table at Bella Blue on the Upper East Side over pasta and a fair amount of white wine. Unfortunately, none drunk by David Carr, the author. The group of seven was shouting down someone who was suggesting that the Bush administration lacked a clear plan to wage peace in Iraq. The someone being David Carr. It was the kind of self-satisfied, opinionated crowd that validates Manhattan life and provokes antipathy from the rest of the country. The startlingly thin, pretty woman at the end of the table listened, but contented herself with a plate of lobster ravioli for most of the dinner, smiling quietly when a particularly tangy bit of rhetoric landed on the table. That's because David Carr was sitting there. When dinner was finished, she ordered dessert and abruptly switched seats, away from David Carr. And while I'm adding that. And while she dug into her chocolate souffle, Ann Coulter served up the red meat, reprising her day job as a paid banshee. Quote, "Liberals don't care what's going on over there," she said, showing a fine set of teeth. "They want us to lose, they want our opponents to triumph, and they want Bush out of the White House." See, I don't think that is what I said. He does not capture one of my points, which is that they care less about Bush being out of the White House for its own sake. They hate America. That's why they hate Bush.
At least you weren't throwing up and being bulimic.
Take that out. No jokes about that.
But he shows you eating at least.
Take that out. You can never repeat the insane things people said. Did you see the Gary Condit interview where he repeats the story about his wife not having thumbs? No, it is not good policy to repeat the insane things said about you.
Lobster ravioli and chocolate souffle.
After a 5-minute filibuster, there was no 5-minute filibuster, it was one sentence. She leaned back in her chair, her work done. Ms. Coulter, 23.
He put in 23?
No, 39. Needs to husband her resources. Since Treason, Liberal Treachery from the Cold War on the War on Terrorism, Crown Forum, was published at the end of last month, she has given 160 television, radio, and newspaper interviews. With a television face and a politician's instinct, Ms. Coulter has made a career out of career-ending statements. We should invade their countries, kill their leaders, and convert them to Christianity. She wrote of Muslims on the National Review website after September 11th in a column that prompted her departure. It was a syndicated column that National Review happened to buy. Treason is no less inflammatory. In it, Ms. Coulter reaches back into history to Senator Joseph R. McCarthy, the ultimate tar baby of American politics, and hugs him like a teddy bear. Senator McCarthy has come to believe, something I don't believe is a misunderstood patriot who saved the country from itself. I tried to correct him during the fact-checking. He is not misunderstood, he is lied about. They understand him just fine. The unvarnished yid of American conservatism, Ms. Coulter, has long been a target of anyone to the left of Patrick J. Buchanan, but the whole... Page 6. Stupid, frivolous liberals. Oh, it's long. A lot of people to attack me in here. But the sale... That'd be long. But the wholesale indictment in treason of Democrats as traitors has drawn withering fire, even from fellow outriders on the right. Why, even so-and-so said. David Horowitz, a Coulter ally who picked up her column for FrontPageMagazine.com after it was dumped by National Review Online, assailed her book on his site, saying it comprised her case and undermined her attempt to correct a record, blah, 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 blah. Writing in the Sunday Times of London, Andrew Sullivan suggested blah, 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 blah. And Dorothy Rabinowitz, blah, 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 blah. I love all these conversions on the road to Damascus, Ms. Coulter shot back. Ann Coulter never speaks, never quips. Ann Coulter only shoots back. She shot back. He asked me what I thought. I have to not answer or I am shooting back. She shot back. Many of these people never supported me anyway. This is a Howard Kurtz type quote. I didn't say that. I'm not running for office. I don't care if people support me. I said, Andrew Sullivan has always hated me, which he has. He said the nicest things he's ever said about me now. She is used to being disowned by former allies. She has been fired by MSNBC more times than George Steinbrenner canned Billy Martin, and she's come to grips with life as a single girl. Come to grips with. Personally and professionally, endlessly peddling her lethally blonde franchise to a reluctant media that finds her reprehensible but not resistible. I don't know, they resisted me pretty well. The American people haven't. I was hired and fired, I don't know, 4 or 5 times, she said, sitting back in Bryant Park on Thursday. They had an idea that they wanted one liberal, one conservative, one moderate. And then every time I'd say something conservative, they would tell me it was over the top. I love that phraseology. It was like a dog. I was like a dog listening to a high-pitched noise. Over the top. Bad dog. Bad dog. Ms. Coulter cultivates antipathy with the prowess of Martha Stewart in an herb garden. Hatred moves units, Ms. Coulter. If hatred moves units, and Ms. Coulter has the best-selling books to prove it. Ah, they describe a great American patriot, Joe McCarthy, as a virtual Nazi. I say he wasn't, and I'm the hater. Okay. Her previous book, Slander, spent weeks at the top of the New York Times bestseller list, and Treason, a Tendentious Trip Through American Political History is #2 on the bestseller list today. Tendentious, unlike history books, unlike all other history books. Her sway with a narrow band of people. I like this theory. A narrow band of people who nonetheless number in the millions means she cannot be ignored. How would you prove that it is more than a narrow band? Is 3 bestsellers in 5 years indication of a narrow band or a large band? Fan clubs, great popularity on TV and radio. Why is that a narrow band? Why is it just assumed that's a narrow band? She emerged as the top conservative voice of a new generation, and she has the sales to back it up, said Matt Drudge, the impresario behind the Drudge Report on the web. And just because she is disguising it in a Sex and the City persona doesn't mean she's not an important political figure. As a full-time book flogger, Ms. Coulter rivals in ubiquity Drew Barrymore's run-up to the Charlie's Angels sequel. Yeah, I do 100 interviews on tiny radio stations because I'll never have a cover on Time magazine, a review in the New York Times book review section, a cover on the New York Times book review section, or 3 Today Show interviews as Hillary had. So I do 1 million small radio shows, and it's just like Drew Barrymore. At times, she almost cops to being a self-drawn cartoon. Oh, yeah. Got that out of me. She arrived for an interview on Scarborough Country on MSNBC last week, swinging a pink Betsy Johnson shopping bag. Inside was a gift for a reporter, this reporter, a Barbie-like Ann Coulter action figure, which is in development. When they're finished with it, it will talk, she said. Of course it will. The possibility of adventure hangs near when Ms. Coulter appears on mainstream television, and Diane Sawyer looks nervous at the end of last month to see Ms. Coulter seated beside her. On Today last year, to promote Slander, Ms. Coulter tangled with Katie Couric, a television personality she had christened in her book as the affable Eva Braun of morning television. Ms. Couric introduced her guest as a right-wing telebimbo, and things went downhill from there. The segment ended just about when Ms. Couric, America's sweetheart, apparently not, seemed ready to leap from her chair and choke Ms. Coulter, America's other woman. I think Ms. Couric seems to appeal to a narrow band. What did he say of me? A narrow band of people. I don't know, give me my own TV show on network and we'll see how narrow the band is. Ms. Sawyer all but used the tongs to pick up treason and struggled for something polite to say about the author, finally concluding, she is, of course, so successful. Ms. Coulter batted aside the compliment and corrected Ms. Sawyer's introduction, pointing out that she had mixed up the subtitles of the 2 books. This book is about treachery, she said. The last book was about lies, she added, leaving out duh, but implying it with a laugh. I don't think that's true. The interview ended with Ms. Sawyer observing that Ms. Coulter would be slugging it out on the bestseller list with Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton. She has a 3-to-1 pound advantage over me, Ms. Coulter pointed out. Ms. Sawyer looked as if her head might fly off. Mrs. Coulter later said that she was mostly referring to Clinton's hefty book. No, I wasn't mostly right. It's double entendre, a phrase David Carr apparently does not understand. That means double meaning. It doesn't mean one meaning has a stronger meaning than the other. For many of the country's elites, the kind who dine on hand-turned pastas on the Upper East Side, Ms. Coulter seems to be a puppet, short of a few strings, fun to watch but in danger of tipping over. Out in those middle-class places that cable news addresses, however, she is a visionary and a truth-teller as well as a babe. Ms. Coulter's beauty is not cuddly and accessible. I am too. I'm a little pussycat. A quick look at the cover of Treason with her black dress and etched hourglass against a white background suggests she has the fat content of a Diet Coke. Yet her looks are undoubtedly part of her draw. Oh yeah, they all say that. Good Lord, looking good, Anne, wrote one appreciative visitor to her website, which includes 25 pictures of Ms. Coulter accessorized, for example, by a gun and Ronald Reagan. Although she is frequently tagged as being a sex object for older men on talk radio, yeah, by liberals, her publicists say her appearances on campuses produced the most rapid response. At an appearance at Six Flags in New Jersey, she was swarmed by admirers who circled the table where she was interviewed and hung around for hours. But though she often extols the virtues of places like Kansas City, this is the hypocrisy point because I do not live in Kansas City because I'm from Connecticut, and claims to love the hoi polloi. The expression is love hoi polloi. That is redundant, David. She seems to like them best at the other end of the television set. Take her taste in ski hills. Vail was going more family-oriented, she complained, recalling a time when she avoided Aspen because it was full of celebrities from Los Angeles. I'm sitting enjoying my margarita in the hot tub, and these kids rolled this enormous snowball, like bigger than my entire body, heaved it in the hot tub, and I stormed up to our room and I told my skiing partner, okay, that's it, no more Vail, we're going to Aspen. Who am I kidding? I love superficial LA people. In many ways, she is what she impales, a child of privilege from New Canaan, Connecticut, with a better understanding of polo than the subtleties of professional wrestling. I contest that. I have learned to love professional wrestling. Oh yeah, Bob Guccione Jr., the owner of the now-defunct Gear magazine and son of a porn magnate, dated her for a time when I was in Washington, and there were no men to date. I don't believe that the politics are real, Mr. Guccione said, and if anyone has a key on my politics, it's Bob Guccione Jr. It is a product. If she were reasoned and balanced, she knows no one would care. By being completely outrageous, she has created a broad spectrum of people who follow her. She's out on a limb and bouncing up and down, he added, and I think she knows it's going to snap, but I don't think she cares in the least. What did happen to Gear magazine? I believe that's a branch that snapped. The gadfly who gives voice to the people in flyover land lives more like Carrie Bradshaw than Carrie Nation. She drinks, she occasionally smokes, and dates energetically. And she has friends, many of whom do not share Ms. Coulter's taste for McCarthyist bon mots. Ms. Coulter has friends who work in unions, friends whom she has kept dear since high school, and friends who do what she does, like Bill Maher, but use their airtime to suggest that she and her fellow travelers are a threat to the Republic. She indicated in one profile that she was friendly with one comedian, Al Franken, but Mr. Franken does not share the warm feeling. A quote I specifically told David Carr I never said. Whenever you tell a reporter, this other reporter made up a quote about me that I never said, they always include it in the article to make sure it becomes part of the allure. All of the quotes I am most attacked for are things I never said. I never claimed to be friends with Al Franken. I named him as a liberal I thought was funny. The reporter got that confused and named it as a liberal I was friendly with, probably because I threw Bill Maher in also. I consider her to be, okay, yeah, a bunch of people, things from Franken. David Brock also, yeah, the key to my soul. A lot of denunciations, got to check with one person who's my friend and 3 people who are not. Although she chose to lease an apartment in Miami this year to be close both to the beach and Mr. Drudge, who is among her best friends, she keeps an apartment in Manhattan with an address quote, more classified than Dick Cheney's location because she's had considerable trouble with overzealous fans. Actually, I'm just in New York for my book tour. New York holds a certain perverse appeal for Ms. Coulter, full of the kind of overeducated sons and daughters of privilege she deplores, and a mayor whom she sees as a crusader against civil liberties. It is an ideal place for her particular kind of target practice. If you have, quote, if you have a fabulous amount of wealth and you can do anything you want and what you really long to do is have control over other people, that's really not a good sign, she said of Michael Bloomberg. I'm waiting for Michael Bloomberg to insist on exercise once a day for all New Yorkers. You must abandon cards, ride bikes to work, and have a warm glass of milk before retiring at night. Kind of an odd ending. Perhaps they had more quotes from my enemies they weren't able to fit in because of the word space. The end.